Faithletic, the podcast, live and in color on a Thursday night. We are live, and I guess you could call in color. This is Coach. I'm with
the Gunslinger today.
And we are Faithletic, the podcast. We are minus KC tonight.
We are minus the kitchen cook.
He is not in the house, in the building, or on the phone. But we wish you well. We hope you're listening. It was feeling just a tad bit under the weather tonight, so we excused him. He is out of excused absences, though.
I know. Jeez.
He is out of sick leave.
This guy.
This is it.
Man,
he's done.
I tell you.
Yep. No more sick leave. Nope.
No more.
No more sick leave.
At least not paid. Yeah.
Well, he'll be glad to find that out.
Yeah.
So back after a week absence, we did not make it last week. We had, or I did. I had an event to go to, and then we will be back. I think we'll be back next week. What is next week? I think we'll do next week, and then we'll have a special show on Tuesday, the 25th, which will be our pre-draft show. We cannot do the 27th, I believe, is the date.
27th is the Tuesday.
Okay.
The 29th.
Okay, thank you.
By the way, that happens to be draft day.
Draft day is the 29th, which we were going to do a special live draft show, but things didn't work out. So we'll do a pre-draft show on Tuesday the 27th. But tonight, we do have a treat.
Yeah, and what would that be? Did
Well,
somebody bring ice cream?
I wish. You brought Sonic.
No, I did.
Shameless plug for Sonic there. If you want to, if Sonic would like to sponsor our show, I'm sure that our advertising coordinator would open offers.
It would save me some money.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So tonight we're going to have a very special guest. Head football coach, Woodward High School here in Oklahoma, will be our special guest tonight. He's going to be joining us here in about 10 minutes via phone call. We don't have the budget yet. Just fly somebody in and have them on the show live, kind of like Pat McAfee does or whatever.
Yeah.
We don't have that
Not
privilege.
yet.
But the kind of exciting time of the year. I mean, getting ready for the draft, free agency in pro football. Where's people going? NCAA tournament we missed a couple of weeks ago, or we didn't miss. But
We didn't get a chance to talk about it.
Yeah.
My Lord, that thing
it was kind of nuts.
That was crazy. I mean, absolutely crazy.
It was a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I know your bracket got busted. Mine actually had two of the four teams in the Final Four. I had Houston and Gonzaga.
I can't remember.
Did you have anybody in the Final Four?
I might have had Baylor up there.
Baylor, yeah. I had Baylor out.
Maybe. I don't know.
I did not have them in the Final Four.
All I know is early, like first round, my bracket got destroyed. And so
a lot of them did.
From that point on, I was like, well, okay, chuck that one up.
I mean, I put in 3 brackets. I only really go by the one. I don't know how the other 2 did. I know it didn't do well because in our little circle, our little trusted circle,
yes,
I was first place until the championship game because the one who won it, which is our show statistician Adam.
Okay.
He actually had Baylor win the championship. I had Gonzaga win the championship. So whoever won that game would win the bracket. Well, he won.
Yeah, and that was a surprise too, kind of.
A little bit.
Gonzaga was kind of a machine in the tournament, and then Baylor said, no, watch this.
They barely won the Final Four first round, or the semifinal game. Barely.
Yep.
Last shot against
Yes,
UCLA.
there was that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Up until the Final Four, they played well. But just goes to show you how hard in any sport to go undefeated. Unless it's women's college basketball, because you can kind of stack the deck like Connecticut did for years.
Yeah. I mean, good. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they ripped off 200 wins or something. I mean, it was
crazy.
It was insane.
I don't know if they won that many in a row, but they had a few undefeated seasons.
Yeah.
And if you stack the deck with all the athletes, then obviously you're going to be undefeated, and that's basically what they did. And it was like there for a while there. They did. I mean, they weren't even contested. I mean,
Yeah.
Their games weren't close. I mean, there were blowouts, and some of you may remember how good Oklahoma was a few years back, and Oklahoma couldn't even compete with them, and they were a Final Four team. I think they made it to the championship game one year, if I'm not mistaken.
See,
Speaking of which,
I don't keep up with it that much.
I don't either, but I mean when it's local, I will. But Sherry Cole retired, the longtime head basketball coach
Really?
at OU. I don't know if you know this or not.
that?
This was before you came, but it came to Oklahoma. But they actually abolished the women's basketball program at OU.
I did not know this.
25, 26 years ago, and there was such an uproar over it that before they even started the next season, they had resurrected the program and they hired Sherry Cole.
Okay.
And that's the rest is history.
Yeah.
I mean, and she did it. She served her purpose. I mean, they never won a national title, but they're in the Final Four a couple of times, and they.
She did well.
She did very good. I mean, probably one of the between them and Baylor and Purdue and Tennessee. I mean, they were in that same talk every year.
Yeah.
For dominant basketball teams.
You know,
women's.
who was this is I'm kind of shifting, diverting, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Because you mentioned UConn, and then I said about the consecutive wins. Well, one of the teams that was in the running recently and locally for the most consecutive wins in all of the NCAA.
Yeah.
Do you know who it was?
I don't.
It was the OU gymnastics
Oh, yeah,
program.
yeah. I guess I did know that.
Yeah, the men's gymnastics program had ripped off 110 consecutive wins or something like that. It was unreal, and they won everything until the national championship in 2019. Because obviously last year it got canceled. And they had won the national championship like 5 years in a row, or maybe that would have been 5 years in a row, but they got beat by 1 point by Stanford.
Oh, wow.
And or less than a point.
Yeah.
And
who's coaching them now?
It's Mark Williams.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know that back in the day it was Becky Buick, and Becky is the wife of Barry Switzer.
Oh, did not know that.
Yep. But I don't know how long she's been out of it. It's been a few years.
The women's gymnastics program is about to win a national championship, I believe. And actually, who knows, the men might do it as well. That'd be pretty sweet.
Well, yeah.
It's not a very public sport.
No.
Not necessarily on television unless it's the Olympics.
Why don't you tell our listening audience why you pay attention to gymnastics?
Well, I have a son.
Yes.
And he started gymnastics only like 6 or 7 years ago. And he took to it, and it was natural for him. And unfortunately, it's the second most expensive sport.
Yeah. Behind what, cheerleading?
No, behind ice skating.
Ice
figure
skating, yeah.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's more expensive. But it's awesome. I mean, he does very well. He's had a lot of success at it. And we've got to meet a lot of cool people. In fact, speaking of the Olympics, many of the Olympians for the men's gymnastics come from OU. They're prior OU grads and whatnot, and we're good friends with some of them. In fact, one that probably has our best chance to bring home medals in several years. So we shall see. But yeah, so that's why we're into gymnastics. It is a very small community, and it's not very public because it's not televised. But for those that are in it, it's phenomenal. And it's great for discipline for the kids. So anybody listening that wants to get their kids on the right path, I tell you, gymnastics will, if they can stick to it.
Powerlifting to me and powerlifting and gymnastics are kind of parallel when it comes to the notoriety. I mean, obviously, there's not a lot of talk. It's not. It is a good spectator sport once you get in the Olympic level, but most people don't go, "Hey, I'm going to go down to the gymnastics meet, next week." They don't do that
unless you know somebody.
Yeah, right. But in powerlifting, it's kind of the same way.
Yep.
if you know somebody, you'll go, but otherwise you don't like go buy tickets for it and go, I can't wait till Saturday afternoon when I go to Faithletic meet. So, if you want, tell people how to get a hold of us, or how do you know the protocol. Let me get a hold of our special guest.
Oh boy, this is typically KC's duties, but yeah, let me give it a go. Bottom line is Faithletic. If you type that into any one of the social media platforms, you will find us. Just type Faithletic in the search bar, and you'll be able to find us. We're on YouTube. We've uploaded previous episodes. I don't know how caught up we are on it, but there are several out there to choose from, and we've had some great episodes.
We're behind.
So YouTube, you've got Facebook.
Yep.
I think we're even on Instagram and Twitter. But bottom line, if you want to find us, just type in Faithletic.
Absolutely.
All one word, and pretty much guaranteed you're going to find us. Not many other programs named Faithletic out there.
I think I think we're kind of a
we're the monopoly.
Yeah, we are.
We're the one.
And those who don't know about what we're about, we combine sports with faith, and we have both Kyle and Casey and Josh and I both have a strong faith, and we definitely have a direction and a hope. And we try to close our shows out with some sort of devotion. A lot of people don't get to hear faith, hope, Christ, things that we deeply believe in. And when we have guests on our show, we try to bring in people who can at least outwardly and inwardly give that kind of perception off. They want to shine the light. And the reason I got this guy on, he's getting ready to come up here in just a second, is I know where his heart is. We went to high school together, probably haven't talked to each other in over 30 years, but he is the head football coach at Woodward High School here in Oklahoma. Welcome to our show, Coach Rick Luetjen. Rick, welcome to the show.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. I'm excited to have the opportunity to get on here with you guys and talk a little bit.
Well, we appreciate you coming on. I found out after I had booked him on the show that today is his birthday. So
I knew that the whole time. So.
See, I knew today, but I asked him about a week ago if he'd consider, and then this week I said, "Hey, we got an opening," and he said, "Yeah, sure." And if he would have told me it was his birthday, I said, "Let's put it off a week." But
what better way to celebrate than right here?
He's got cake waiting on him.
Yeah,
so.
He does. I bet he does. He's already had his birthday dinner, so certainly some sort of pie, cake, dessert, or something's got to be waiting somewhere.
We definitely have dessert waiting. Yeah.
There you go.
Boy! So this is going to be a short interview.
No, I'm not ready yet.
You got to digest that steak, right?
Yeah. Got to give it some time.
I know, it takes time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, Coach, we're excited to have you on. I tell you what, I kind of sort of met you just about 30 seconds ago, but I'm Josh, and I've looked you up. I've read some stuff about you, and I'm excited to talk to you. I'm glad you're here, so thanks for coming on, and especially on your birthday.
Oh, you bet. You bet. I'm excited, too. I was really excited when Dan reached out to me the other day and asked me to be part of this. I mean, I've followed it for a while now, and I've kept track of him, and I know what he does and how he's benefits kids and things like that with his work. And, I think we had chit-chatted about that just not too long ago and on a post on Facebook, and just how impressed I am with the work that he does and benefits kids.
Well, I think you and I both are on a similar path. What we can do to make kids' lives better.
Sure.
Obviously, being a football coach, that's your passion. Even I kind of found out, those that may not know my background, I was an athletic trainer. I was a trainer for Coach Luetjen when he was playing high school football, and it just kind of followed me through college, and then I kind of got away from it for a while after college, but I felt I had this calling to improve lives. I've done it in work, and now started a mentoring program almost 10 years ago. And Coach, I know there's a lot of challenges in front of you right now with the pandemic going on, but tell us what you've been dealing with in the last year, trying to coach football and still be able to have that impact on kids?
Well, and I think that's the big thing is the impact on kids is what we really missed out on the most. Yeah, we missed spring football and we missed some stuff in the summer and some things like that. But, it wasn't so much about what we had missed out on and wasn't prepared to go into the fall football camp with. It was more about just missing being around our kids. And I think there's probably not too many coaches out there that you won't get that same answer from is we just missed being around the kids. And I know, I feel like I try to be a role model for the kids, but, what we get back from the kids is so much more important
Absolutely.
than what most people think. And to not have that for so many months, because when we stopped going to school not too long after spring break and we were out the rest of the year, I mean, we didn't get to see the kids. We didn't get to be around them. And then all of a sudden when we got to start up in Summer Pride and they all rolled in the door that first day, I mean, I know I had tears coming down just to see those kids and have that opportunity to be with them again.
Coach, was that your first spring at Woodward?
No, it was not. I actually came up the year before
Okay.
in the spring, and
Okay.
we did spring football that first year that I was here, and everything was status quo. We went to team camp, did the summer thing, had the season, and then that was my first spring to actually be here.
Okay.
But it was actually my second spring with the team.
All right. Hey, Coach, I've got a question for you. I kind of want to almost back out a little ways and ask you if you can maybe give us a little bit of your testimony and just how you became a football coach, what you're about, things of this like that, and then let's dive back into the football after that.
Okay, well, my parents were very faithful people, so we were always brought up in the church atmosphere, went to Sunday school, did all of that kind of stuff. So, we were exposed to that. I say we, my brothers and I, and we were exposed to that, at a young life, and that carried on, through our adult life. And when I first got out of college, my dad was diagnosed with ALS and was living in Enid. So when I left school, we actually went back to Enid so we could be near him. So I did not get into coaching right out of college, and actually spent about 10 years before I went back and finished up some hours and started my coaching career. And I've been doing it for about 30 years now, so that tells you how old I am. But I saw it as a great opportunity to be able to share my faith and my beliefs. Sometimes it was kind of vocal, but most of the time it was just, by example and the things that I did and the things that I hope the kids saw in me and my wife, that we will have been married 39 years coming up in May. And,
Congratulations.
and the boys, thank you, and the boys that we've raised and took through all of those, different schools that we went through during that process. And I, always believed that if they saw how I acted as a husband and as a father, that was probably the best thing that I could give them. And so I felt like it was just a great calling. It was something that I was meant to do. I knew that when I first was coming out of college, but I had to wait a little while to get that opportunity. And now I just, I love that opportunity every day. And I'm one of those guys. I've worn a WWJD bracelet since about the early 90s when they came out,
Right.
and still wear one to this day. And I also wear my Philippians 4:13 bracelet every day. My three boys wear one all the time. And, it's just, I've tried to find different ways to do it. I've done FCA and things like that at different schools that I've been at. And so, that's just important to me. And I hope that I, serve as an example, enough that the kids are able to see that and respond to it.
Coach, do you get challenged by administrators today about sharing your faith or prayer or anything that's going on that seems like we're running more and more against?
Absolutely not. I never have, and
That's
I've
good.
always been very fortunate, and I'm sure, it's kind of the luck of the draw because I know I do hear that, from time to time. But, I've been in, I think, 6 schools total during that 30-year period, and I've never really had any opposition to anything that I've done. Pretty much every community that I've lived in, I've sang at church, and I do specials and things like that. They know that's what I'm about, and
Sure.
they know that I'm gonna pray before the football games, and
Good for you.
sometimes pray after the football games and things like that. And I've never had anybody question it or challenge it or anything.
We had a pastor here in Oklahoma City that started a program that adopted kids. Now he was in that area with Northwest Classen and
Yeah.
Putnam City. I don't know if his name's Mike Keybone. He's now he started that when he was the pastor at Cherokee Hills Baptist Church. Now he's at Lawton, but he got a lot of resistance from the school board doing what he did, and obviously in Oklahoma City you're probably got a little bit more stringent on that than you are in the smaller communities, but I thought it was a great program he started where these people that were in their church would go to the games of the kids that didn't have parents show up at their games.
Right.
And I just thought that was, that's actually, and he actually spoke at a couple of our live events in the last few years, but I just thought that was a really great program to start. And unfortunately, he still found a way to get, the word out to the kids, but he kind of got some restrictions there for a bit.
Yeah, and that's sad. I mean, I know, like you said, the bigger metropolitan areas, I think they have to, maybe be a little more concerned about that and things like that. I'd never be able to make it in a place like that. I'd have to get back out. And I've been pretty fortunate. I've actually been at all small schools until I left Tennessee a couple of years ago to come here.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I did was because even though we're a 5A football school, this is a small town feel and a small town community, and it's got that same, small town vibe to it that I've been used to. So to me, it wasn't any difference at all, and I was concerned about it because that was really one thing I didn't want to step up and go to a bigger school. And my first thought was, well, okay, here's that bigger school we talked about. But Woodward's so much different. I mean, it's like a small school in a small community, and the people are great, love them, and they've welcomed us with open arms. And this community knows what I'm about in regards to my faith. And I think it popped up on my memories the other day back during COVID last Easter. I did a song and posted it on Facebook during the Easter season, and it was a song by Dallas Holm, and I mean, posted it on. I just felt the need to do that, and of course my players were freaking out because they didn't even know I could sing anyway, and to do something like that. But I make it pretty obvious, and and I don't care, because if it's somewhere that doesn't want me to do that, then it's somewhere I don't want to
go. You're in the wrong place. There's
Absolutely.
no doubt.
Right.
Can you?
And
Go ahead.
well, as I say, and we find that in our profession a lot, and not just from a religious aspect, but sometimes it's an administration, sometimes it's a few people in the community, or sometimes it's maybe the board or something like that. And I've always been one of those guys up front, say, hey, if you don't want me here, let me know, and I'll find a job. I found a job when I found this one. So,
sure.
I want to be where I'm wanted, and I want to be where I want to be. So, we've got to accomplish that first, and Woodward has definitely fell into that category.
Good.
What sort of impact has that had on your players, your faith, that is? I mean, surely uh, over time, just in being very outward with your faith, and I mean, and obvious, and I love that. Surely there's had to be a time when someone came and potentially just asked you the question, "How do I get saved?" Uh, Something like that. Can you talk about how your faith has led to either conversations or moments like a salvation with some of your players?
Well, it's definitely led to conversations, and all throughout my career, I've had some opportunities to have some one-on-one time like that, with some of my players along the way, and it's been fairly low key. It hasn't been anything just major impact, but I feel like I see more of that later on down the line, after kids have graduated and reach back out to me and talk to me later. I've always felt like that as a football coach, especially, we're in the business of training, good husbands and good
Yep.
fathers and good citizens, and trying to prepare them for, being a man of faith and a man of family once they leave here. And, the football is just kind of a byproduct as we get there. And so anytime we get an opportunity, or, I get the opportunity to be able to make them better in that respect, and I think faith is how I can do that. And I think it shows more, like I said, when I see these kids later on down the line, maybe 5 years later or 10 years later, and actually talking to one today that I coached in my very first head job almost 30 years ago. And, he's got kids graduating from high school now and things like that. And, so just I feel like those relationships is what I know most of us that are in the profession for the right reasons are after. It's not about the wins and the losses and the rings and the titles and things like that. It's what we can do for the youth.
That's funny you should say that, because we, for first 5 years that we did Team Black, we focused a lot of our energy on these, I call them live events, and we do exhibitions and have speakers come in and have live music. And we done as many as like 900. We did a chapel service at OBU one year. We did FCA in Hinton a year. We just we had various sizes. I think the first one we had 60 kids, and then we probably done as little as 35 or 40, but various sizes of audiences through the years. And one thing I always tried to tell our staff before we started each event, I said, it doesn't matter if we find out today or not. All we're trying to do is plant the seed. And if we say if we get one person who at some point in time, maybe not tonight, but down the line, gives his life to the Lord, then would serve his purpose. And
Right.
I can remember a scenario where I had a kid that I'd known few years earlier that I tried to have impact on, and he had some substance problems, and we could just never get him cleaned up. And cut to a long story, I'll make it short. He walks into to a session I was having with some of my kids at one of the colleges, and he I recognized him, and he says, and he'd actually gotten his life around, played college basketball. He got his life back in line.
Mm-hmm.
And he just said, I just want you to know that few minutes you spent with you that day didn't change my life that day, but it did change my life. And I thought, wow,
Yeah.
that's the Lord kind of telling you, look, you're doing the right thing, just keep doing what you're doing. So I understand what you're saying.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. And a lot of times we don't get the reward of seeing it right away.
That's right.
We have to wait and be patient until it comes up later on down the line, and then those moments, I think, are so much more special than to get that reward immediately.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Perfect. Well, thank you.
Mhm.
Can you talk about your coaching style? I hear that you're an old school coach. So can you expound on what that means?
You heard right. You definitely got that
Good
part
for
of
you.
it. You would think at my age I would start kind of tapering down a little bit. Like I'm looking at a picture on the wall. I'm up here in my coach's office at home, and I've got a picture here on the wall where I've got one. It's a collage of pictures from my first year here that photography studio did. It's just beautiful. But one, I've got an official. He's got his hand on me. I got my hand on him, and we're conversing. And then a couple of them where I'm getting after a couple of players. So yeah, old school. But then my favorite one is down towards the bottom right. I've got a kid, and I've got my hands wrapped around behind his head, and it's a shot from behind him, and in a big embrace with him. So definitely old school. I've always felt that way, and I've always been led to play that way. I was led, and I was coached that way through high school and through college. And I just feel like that's the way you've got to play the game. You've got to play the game with the passion that it's meant to be played with, or if not, you're disrespecting the game, and you don't need to be playing. It's as simple as that. And so, I've always been of that mindset. It's smash mouth. We're running down the hill, and we're going to play great defense, and we're going to try to, control the clock and that type of attitude. So I've always been a pretty hardcore guy. I'm a yell and scream guy. I'm a high intensity guy. And that's the reason I still love to do it, even at 61 years old. And, I feel like I could do it for another 10 years without question, just because of, that's the way I love the game. And so definitely old school, but, that's the way I was brought up. And, we got kids in the profession now that, have only been in it for maybe 5 years, and 5-10 years ago when they were playing, a lot of it wasn't that way. The game definitely changed a lot in a lot of aspects, and I felt like got a lot softer, and the mindset changed a lot. People started going to, different types of offenses and things like that kind of hurt your, mindset of the physical aspect of the game. And, that really broke my heart. But, at some point you have to adapt and move on.
Agreed.
Or, you're going to get left behind as well.
Adapt or die kind of mentality.
But
yep.
I love the intensity part of it. I mean, I'm one of those pregame speech guys, halftime speech guys, and I get my full quota on a Friday night, and by the time I walk out of there, I'm done for a while. But that's what drives me to do what I do.
So Josh, I'm going to ask Josh this question. If you don't already know the answer to it, you can guess it. What position he played?
He's running back.
No.
No.
Well, he played probably in junior high, but no.
Oh, okay. I was sure. Either that or linebacker.
Linebacker.
Yeah. Okay.
That was it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I can attest for watching him play ball that he was one of probably the most intense people I ever saw play. I mean,
That's awesome.
He was very intense.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's my kind of football. I mean, that's what I grew up with. I grew up with the 3-a-days, and boy, I still remember Coach Wolf. Oh gosh, I remember one day I lined up on the wrong side of the line. Oh boy. Fortunately it was freshman year, but wow, that guy he had volume.
So Josh was actually buddies with Ryan Leaf.
Yeah, I played played against Ryan Leaf.
He played against him.
Had the quote unquote pleasure.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah, that must have been a lot of fun.
He was an interesting guy. Funny thing, I actually ended up running into him multiple times after his NFL downfall. It took him a while. Now he's turned the corner. He looks like he's gonna he's going the right way and trying to make the good impact, etc. But
Right.
at the point that I ran into him again, he was the guy that would show up and announce that he was there by saying, "Do you know who I am?" You know, he was still that guy. So I don't think he was out of money yet, but yeah, that quieted down as soon as he, I think, spent some time in jail. But
Definitely changed.
he's on the right path now. So that's
Yeah,
that's a good.
I saw something a while back that special on him or something, and it definitely seemed like he was really working hard to go that way. So kudos to him, because gosh, just the beating that he took after, you know, the fallout was more than what most people could handle, and so to be able to come through that is pretty impressive in itself.
Yeah. Now, another thing I read about you is that you really emphasize the relationships in football, and this I love. This stuck with me because I'm a military guy. I was in the military. I retired from the military. Got to deploy and do all those fun things that come with it. One of the things, we call it downrange, that is a common thread, is that, you know, guys will say when they're asked, "What are you doing this for?" They say, you know, "I'm doing it for the guy on my left and guy on my right." You know, that's it. You know, it's me and them, and yeah, like I said, doesn't matter what the skin color is, what the background is, doesn't matter. That's my brother,
Right.
and I'm doing it for him. And I read that that's the kind of relationships, that's the kind of outlook you emphasize in your players. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's, you know, I was real fortunate when I got to Hennessy back in 2009. I got to coach with Shannon Watford there, and he had brought in the motto, the credo, whatever you want to call it, acronym for "I am my brother's keeper." And, you know, obviously I'd seen it and heard it before, but never really, you know, had done anything with it personally. But when I got there, that was something that was real big for Coach Watford, and so it became widespread throughout the community within just a few years. You know, that community really latched on to that, and that was our motto. I mean, it's "I am my brother's keeper." I'm playing for that guy next to me. I'm playing for that guy, you know, behind me, and I'm going to do everything I can to, you know, make him successful and give him the opportunity to win. I'm not going to take a play off, or I'm not going to go half speed on this play, or whatever the case is. So that's something that I've taken. And then when Shannon left and I took over there at Hennessy, obviously we kept it, and it was a big thing. And that was one of the first things that I brought here with me when I came to Woodward, and we've carried it on here. We've got it on our helmet. We've got it up in the locker room. We've got it in the weight room. We've got it, you know, everywhere. We break out on it. Everything that we do is "I am my brother's keeper, I am BK," and it's been on my license plate on my vehicle for about the last 10 years. And so I really live that, and we try to get that across to our kids, that, you know, when you feel like you just can't go anymore, you know, you've got to really think about who you're playing for. You know, you're playing for that guy that you sweat and bleed with every day in practice, because our practices are brutal. You know, we try to make them so hard that when they play on Friday nights, it's easy, and have always been of that mindset. So we've worked that real hard. And probably my favorite thing is when I came here, one thing that I'd really been wanting to do was to go back to the old school Texas boot camp the week before we start fall camp. So when I got the job here, that was the first thing I started working on, was how we were going to run it, what we were going to do, what all was going to be involved in it. And it was one of those deals where you just really try to break them down physically and mentally as hard as you can, and then build them back up, and then break them down and build them back up type attitude. So we took the entire week before we started fall camp and we could start practice where we could still work them out and do things. So we would leave here every day and we'd do a 1 mile run down to the middle school and get over there, and then we would take them inside to the wrestling room, which was about 100 degrees in there, and we'd do the old school mat drills where, they're doing the up downs and they're doing the log rolls and they're doing the half eagles and quarter eagles and just putting them through the ringer in there. And, they're dying in there and sweating in there, but we won't let them stop talking. We won't let them stop encouraging. We won't let them sit down and rest. And they just keep pushing each other. And it's amazing what they will get accomplished in a situation like that. And it just really blew my mind. And I go back to a lot of some of the old videos that I would go through and picked up different things from back in the 80s and the 90s, mainly the 80s, back when they were doing that in Texas a lot, and I know some of them still do it. So we went with a lot of that old school stuff. But then we also sat down and we had a faith time. We had a period where the kids would get together in groups and they would talk about certain things that were the topic of the day, and then some of them would get up out of each of their group and speak to the rest of the team. So, our whole deal was just bonding and team building during that full week. And then when we would finish over there every day, we would run back to the high school a mile. And but we had a cadence that we would do and different things like that were more military, type thing. And it was a lot. It was a lot of good, and really meant a lot to the kids and a lot to our staff. And I think it really built that original bond. In that first year, we got in the playoffs. And the first time they'd been, I think, in 6 or 7 years.
Wow.
And the kids really, and we're without a doubt in the toughest 5A district in the world.
Who's in your district, Rick?
Because it's Carl Albert and McGinnis, which
yeah.
always end up 1 and 2 every
Sure.
year in the state finals,
Yeah.
and then Piedmont and teams
doubt.
like that. So, and we're really outclassed number-wise because we're like right on the bubble of being number 1 or 2 in 4A
Mm-hmm.
or 32 in 5A, which is where we ended up on this last go-round. But so for our kids to go out there and compete with that, and then to compete with Clinton and Weatherford and teams like that are in our non-district, I thought it was very encouraging. And we had to modify it a little bit last year because of COVID, but we're back full strength this year. We're back in the wrestling room, and we're going to make men out of boys again that first week before we start practice.
What you mentioned earlier about being old school, and you played. Your sophomore year, you with Coach Greenhaw, correct?
Yes.
And then 2 years, Jim Frazier. So
Yes.
definitely old, Jim Frazier, years and years, state champion.
Old school.
Yeah, old school from Clinton, and came to Enid, and of course Greenhaw,
Right.
Been around for such a long time. And then
Right.
was it Massey at Weatherford? You were at Southwestern, right?
Yeah, I went to Southwestern, and Maisie had just taken over for Delaport.
Okay.
Bob Maisie,
Right.
and he was our head coach,
Right.
and he was as crusty old school
He
as
definitely
they get.
was old school.
And it was, he was awesome. He'd tell you exactly what he was going to tell you, whether you liked it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And, so definitely that old school mentality there too.
What and you kind of pressed upon it earlier. You're gonna stick the old school style, but how has it, with all eyes on you today, cameras everywhere, recording devices everywhere, have you had to adapt a little bit based on that old school mentality somewhat?
Oh, I think it's always adapting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's adapted for me a lot over the last 10 to 12 years, that you've had to be maybe a little more careful here, a little more careful there. But
Right.
I think when you come into a place, if the stupid thing to do is to come in and not be yourself
Exactly.
and then try to change it after the fact. That'll get you fired every time.
Yep.
If you come in and you be yourself and you do it the way you told them in the interview that you were going to do it, you can't lie in there either.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't when I took this job, and I told them exactly how I was going to do it, and I told them, there was going to be some times where it was going to be pretty ugly, but they were ready for football to get back to where it needed to be in Woodward because,
Sure.
this is a football community and
it's had
a
tradition.
football town. Go ahead. So, so I told them that up front, but then I had to come out and I had to go ahead and continue to do that. And it was one of those deals, like I said earlier, if that's not what they were going to want, then I was going to look for somewhere else to go.
Sure.
Because I'm not ready to change that. I will quit coaching before I change
Sure.
that,
Good
because
for you.
I can't do it the other way, because then I'd feel like I'm being untruthful to my kids and my players, and then I'm just living a lie to them, and they're the last ones that I want to lie to.
What do you see as your? I don't see how I can word this question. Obviously, generations have changed, as it always will. I mean, we were, there was something wrong with us when we grew up, based on the older generation to some degree.
Oh yeah.
So, I guess the question I have is, what is your biggest hurdle as a coach in adapting with this generation?
I think the thing that I feel like I've struggled the most trying to get used to is just the work ethic overall out of the kids nowadays.
Yep.
I think it's just a work ethic thing, because I think so many of them that need to be out there on the football field, either one, opt not to do anything, or two, opt to go to a different sport and say, well, I'm just a basketball player, or I'm just a baseball player.
Sure.
And do that one sport thing. And it all said and done, it's because they don't want to go out there and they don't want to practice from 2:30 to 6 o'clock or 6:30 in the evening, 3 or 4 days a week, and then go play a game on Friday night. It's just the work. And maybe work ethic maybe not even is the right way to say it. I think it's more just the work.
It's hard work.
It's hard work. It really is.
That's what I
And,
see. They'd rather quit
feel,
than work hard.
Yeah, and so, but it seems like it's more so that it's gotten to the point where they don't even try it. And, it used to be where maybe they'd come out and then realize they couldn't handle it and quit.
Yeah.
But nowadays it's hard just to get them to get out there, and that's what we always try to sell in the spring, and we're hopefully going to pick up another half a dozen kids this spring by the fact that, hey, this is your tryout. This is your chance to find out. We know as a coach that you could be a great football player for us. Now you need to prove it to yourself and come out in the spring. And it's a trial. And
sure.
If you don't like it, then don't come back out in the fall. But come give us a week and a couple of days in a team camp. And if you don't just absolutely love it, then don't come out in the fall. And we're good. And we gave it a shot. So,
yeah, I think that stems from a overall societal problem that we tend to have, or seems to be happening right now. But what I love about what you said earlier and how it's going to apply to this is you said you're in the business of basically building men. It's
yes.
Football is the byproduct maybe, but you're in the business of teaching these guys how to be good leaders, husbands, dads, etc. Well, the impact that has is tremendous, because those guys are then going to go and they will have a family, and they're going to pass those values down to their kids, and hopefully through your work and the work of coaches like yourself, or that share the same values as you, hopefully that change can continue and have a huge impact on our future.
Yeah, I agree. And I made the comment earlier about some young coaches, and they're not all that way. I mean, honestly, one of the guys that I really look up to is Lee Blankenship at Mustang.
I know Lee.
That young man right there has got it all going on.
He does.
You talk about walking the walk and talking the talk. He does it. He does it the right way. He coaches them hard, but he loves them so much, and those kids love him so much. And seeing some of the things that he's been able to accomplish in his short career at this point, and now to be at one of the biggest schools in the state of Oklahoma and changing lives that he's changing there at Mustang and winning football games on top of it. But the lives that he's changing there is just dramatic. And you can ask my wife, when I saw him a few years ago at an FCA breakfast and listened to him talk there, I walked out of there thinking, man, this guy he's the real deal. And I look up to him so much. We're going to his team camp in May.
Oh, cool.
And I'm excited just to go down there and be around him, because I was in awe of him. I mean, here I am, close to 60 years old at that time, and been doing it for close to 30 years. And I was in awe of that man and what he was able to accomplish and some of the things that he does. So kudos to him. There's a lot of good ones out there like that.
He's actually come into our church and baptized some of his players.
Yes. Yes, I've seen it.
Yeah.
And I posted something on Twitter the other day because he had one of those. Mm-hmm. And I told him, I said, it's amazing how he's been able to use the gift that God's given him and to be able to share what God's given him on the platform that he does, and without any concern. Yep. I mean, he doesn't care what people think about him. Mm-hmm. He doesn't care about what society thinks. He's going to do what he's going to do because of his faith and what he believes.
Yeah, we have some kids here that I'm not working. Well, I have worked with some of the Mustang kids, but most of the ones I work with, a couple of them are UConn. And Coach Reed was over there last year. He resigned.
Right.
They got a new coach this year, but some of the things are going on in that we've got a couple of kids from our church that are young 15, 16-year-olds are leading those young men to just having better lives. And not only that, but just part of our powerlifting program. I mean, I got you may have seen on our Facebook post, we've got 15-year-old kids set the American record 540-pound squat. Yeah. And we're hoping he's going to do 600 here in a few weeks, but it, that's secondary to what how he leads people. Even in his football team, in his school.
I was going to say there isn't a single event that happens that he doesn't bring somebody to.
He's always bringing kids to it.
Awesome.
His name is Austin. He's an awesome
really
kid. And faith is
awesome.
is the center for him. So
he actually wants to powerlift in college, and he's going out trying to find schools that have a centenary program and powerlift. And he's actually found a couple, So one's in Mississippi. So So I know we've kept you about 45 minutes. I kind of have a little bit of fun here for a second. I want to just ask you some silly, stupid questions.
And I have one more question.
Go ahead then.
Okay.
Ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to make sure I hit on it, and the fact that I saw you. You actually got to coach 2 of your boys. I don't know how many kids you have.
I've got 3 boys and got to coach all 3 of them.
Okay, so you've got to, and
That's cool.
And you won at least one state champion with one of them, didn't you? I won a state championship there at Hennessy with my youngest, and then I won a state championship with my second oldest.
his senior year.
Awesome.
We had moved there when he was a junior, and his brother Matt was a senior, and we were undefeated to the semifinals and lost to Tonkwall, that turned around and won it the next week. And then and Matt went on. He had several offers, but he went and played at West Point and played at Army. And then after a couple of years, transferred to Tulsa. He got medically retired through the Army, so he had to come back to Tulsa and finish up. And then my youngest one played his full career at Tulsa. So I did have the opportunity to coach those two, and then their older brother played for me all the way through, and then he played a few years in college. But so I had the opportunity to coach all of them. But the state championship with the young one that year that's just something you can't do anything better than that.
You know, I know how special that feels to you because our co-founder with Team Black is the head basketball coach at Bethany High School, Quinn Woolridge, and he was at OBU as the head basketball coach. He actually took the job at Bethany so he could coach his boys through high school. I mean, it was just more important. And I remember when I met him, 10, 12 years ago, and he says, I just want to coach my boys, and he's kind of, he's stuck to that. And if they hadn't had COVID shut them down last year, they were actually getting ready to play in the quarterfinals, the state tournament, and they were probably had the best team in the state last year. And of course, they didn't even play a state tournament. They shut them down like an hour before the game. When this all broke out. But I know, talking to him, how special that is for him to coach his boys, and I can imagine how it is for you as well.
It was a lot of fun, and I had three very special boys that were top-notch kids and just as good as gold. And so it wasn't one of those where we'd come home and complain to each other and gripe about this and gripe. I mean, it was fun all the way through on all of them. So it was an experience that I'll never get to have again, obviously. I've got a bunch of grandkids coming up. But
well, there you go. Maybe you'll stick around long enough.
Probably not going to last that long. But I think the first real taste of it was after my oldest one graduated. The two brothers were about 7-8 years younger. When he graduated, we went out to that next season, and that was the first time I didn't have my son playing. And I told those kids, and I hadn't had one before, but once I had him playing for me all the way through, then all of a sudden he was gone. I told those kids, I was in tears that first day. I said, guys, you're my kids now. I said, I don't have a son playing anymore. It's all of you. And that was a pretty neat deal to experience that, but then to come back through and then have two more go all the way through, and then the level that going and playing Division I for both of them,
that's pretty cool
was pretty
stuff.
awesome to be part of.
Sure. Okay, so a couple of questions for you, and we'll let you go. These are just kind of fun questions. You don't have to take them too serious. So, first question for you, favorite football movie?
Oh, favorite football is Remember the Titans.
Okay, when you said the camp,
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, this guy is Remember the Titans. I love it.
Didn't even hesitate.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah. Anytime it's on and I'm flipping through channels, I stop and watch whatever's left on it.
Yeah,
so,
that's what we call rewatchables. We actually had a whole podcast show with that last year, where what's our favorite rewatchable movies, and Remember the Titans in that list.
Absolutely. That's great.
Yeah.
Your favorite pregame meal as a player?
Favorite pregame meal as a player?
Can you remember that far back?
We're going a long ways back. Hey, back then it was home cooking. I mean, it was home cooking.
Yep.
It wasn't this deal where nowadays where they run to Subway
Cater.
or KFC, or I've got kids that eat pizza now,
Yeah.
and it just, I don't know how they can eat a pizza and go play a football game in 3 or 4 hours.
I don't get it.
But mine was it was really home cooked food.
Okay. And your favorite moment as a player?
Favorite moment as a player, if I remember right, my junior year, I was still a running back, even though we were dissing on that earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I was a fullback.
Yeah, you were.
And we played a game at Ponca City, and it was a torrential downpour. And I think I had maybe 25 to 35 carries that game for 130, 40 yards, something like that, because it was just so wet and so miserable that if the quarterback could get the snap and at least get it to me at the fullback spot, then we had a successful play. And I remember that night very vividly. I remember going out of bounds with the water flying through the air and things like that night that were pretty memorable for me, because we had a couple of subpar seasons. We didn't do anything great, and so that game probably stood out the most to me.
Last question, and I remember that game, by the way. Last question, your football coaching hero all time.
Football coaching hero. So is this somebody
you
I
played for?
actually know, or
somebody
just
you know
somebody
or
out there
Yep.
in the coaching world?
No, somebody you actually know or played for, or coached
Somebody
with.
that I actually know or played for. I'll tell you, I'd have to say the guy that probably was the most influential to me and that maybe molded me and shaped me into the coach that I feel like that I am was Woody Roof.
Okay.
He was just there at Southwestern for a couple of my years there. I played tight. I switched from linebacker to tight end my senior year, and he was the offensive coordinator. And I think his style and attitude rubbed off a lot on me. And, he went down to high school ranks after that and was pretty successful. So I think Woody Roof would have to be that guy.
And then I'm going to ask one more question, and I'm going to turn it off to Josh, and we're going to let you go. Your favorite quote as a coach?
I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep.
That's awesome. Okay.
Wear it every day.
Josh?
That's fantastic. Well, Coach, I can't thank you enough. I tell you, like I said, I was pretty excited reading up on you, and now getting to talk to you has just been awesome.
Cool.
I can't thank you enough for coming on with us and putting up with me, at least. And boy, I hope we can do it again. And really, I wish you all the luck.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish you all the luck going forward. And I will follow you. I live in Mustang, so I am, partial to Mustang, and I do follow them. But I'm definitely gonna look at Woodward as well now and check on you.
We'll be down there the 26th and 27th of May for their team camp.
I'm just getting ready to ask you what's the dates on that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 26th, 27th, those 2 evenings, and we're looking forward to that. Staying at one of the churches there, putting the team up for the one night, and so we're excited about that. But I really appreciate it, and I appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's been ours.
This is one of those things that we don't get to do a whole lot, and and just to be able to talk and enjoy and laugh about some things and share the faith and
absolutely
what we believe in.
Bringing up some old memories too.
Hey, and you know what? Thank you for what you're doing out there as well.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's outstanding.
Well, Coach, it's been a pleasure. I know it's been every bit of 30 years since we even had a conversation, maybe longer. You were at Southwestern when I was at Central State. I was part of those. I was part of that '82 team that won the national championship. You were still? Were you playing? Did you play at Southwestern that year? '82.
My last year was '81 to play.
Yeah.
It was 78, 79, 80, 81.
Right. Okay.
Those are my 4 years to play. So we played you guys all through that time, but that was a year after I had graduated.
Well, they beat us that year and then we
Mm-hmm.
went ahead and went up winning the national championship. But
Yeah.
I remember that time brightly. And we talk about coaching legends or coaching heroes. Mine was always Dusty Eby. I mean, that guy had such an impact in my life, and to this day, because you talk about old school. I mean, Coach Eby was a fundamental machine. I mean, it's all about fundamentals. It's just, over and over drills.
My my youngest son is here at Woodward coaching with me. It was one of my uh, huge pleasures was to be able to. He played, like I said, at Tulsa, and then he stayed on. He was GA-ing at Tulsa. And when I took this job year before last, and I called him up and I said, "Hey, I need you." I said, "I need you to come up here and coach with me. I need to bring some guys with me." And now the opportunity to be able to coach with him after coaching him all those years. And so he and his wife are up here, and they just had a little one about 9 months ago. And so he's helping with baseball.
Oh,
and
yeah.
we were talking about baseball the other day, and my wife teaches at the high school too, so every day at lunch it's him and I and my wife in her room eating lunch, and we call ourselves the Lunch Bunch. And so anyway, we were talking about baseball and brought up the term small ball to him, and I told him, I said, well, we had the master at the fundamentals, the master at small ball. I said it didn't matter if you were the 4-hole home run hitter. If there was a guy at first or a guy at second, you were going to bunt.
Yep.
And if you didn't, and you didn't get it down, you weren't going to play.
Yep.
And I told him, I said it was just so amazing. But Dusty Eby was definitely a legend and one of my favorites. I had more offers to go play baseball than I did football, but it was all because of that man. He was pretty awesome.
He was, and he always. What I loved about him is he always stuck to his guns, and you always knew that he was gonna. No matter how much talent he had, he always found a way to win because they were so fundamentally sound. And when he had talent, they were awesome. They were great.
Sure.
And,
because he could coach a game. He knew how to strategize and to win a baseball game, and he did that really well. And
sure did.
You're exactly right. Sticking to your guns. That was another story I had with Derek the other day, because I told him we were talking about catchers nowadays and how kids in high school baseball just steal bases left and right. There's very rarely will you see a catcher throw a guy out anymore. And I told him, I said, back in our day, and that's what I did. I said that's what I lived for. And I mean, if a guy stole a base on you, you were trash.
Yeah.
And my senior year, Tim Murphy was a junior a year behind me, and I told Derek, I said, this kid had a cannon. I said, I mean, it was all I could do to use perfect technique to try to get the ball there before the guy would get there and steal the base, but I said, this kid behind me had a cannon, and I said, if I let a kid steal a base, Tim came in from right field. I went to right field, and he was catching the rest of the game because he had an arm on him that nobody could beat. Yep. So, but he'd stick to his guns. He was going to play to win every time.
Yep. Well, Coach, it's been a pleasure. I don't know if I'll be able to make it over there in May, but we definitely need to have a conversation before you start the football season, because we generally try to do a high school preseason talk, and we try to break it down into classes. So maybe we can get you to come on in August and talk about 5A and just what direction you guys are headed and all that kind of good stuff, and talk about some more memories.
Sounds good. And if you guys have any type of live event or anything like that coming up whenever, man, look me up. I would love to be part of it and help out, or
we'll
talk, sing, whatever.
We're always, we haven't done one of those in a couple of years. I decided that the last one we did just took so much energy to put them together, because we do a skit, and we do have the live music and trying to get everybody together to rehearse, and it just got to the point, like, I don't know if I'd rather just spend my time one-on-one with the kids on Saturdays, and
I like it.
But I'm not saying I won't ever do another one because I sure enjoyed it. But that work up to it was definitely brutal. But
yeah, I imagine. Well, if you ever do, look me up.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. All right, Coach Rick
All right.
Luetjen, head football coach, Woodward High School in Oklahoma. Coach, thanks for joining us. Happy birthday, and wish you Providence a long way, man. Thanks for coming on.
All right, man.
All right.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank
All right,
you.
have a
Thanks
good
so
night.
much.
Bye-bye.
Happy
All right.
birthday. See ya.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Well, great show.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
I didn't.
How about that? I was gonna comment on that. You know, hey, have them on for 20 minutes or
however,
the whole show.
Well,
that was awesome.
It's kind of always been our MO. We will go for as long as somebody wants to stick around, and our show's generally an hour. We've done an hour and a half. We've gone every bit of 70 minutes today.
I could have talked to him for 70 more.
Oh yeah, he's definitely. I forgot he
I
played
had-
baseball though. I'd forgotten all about it until he brought it up.
You guys were firing me up
Yeah.
because I played
Yeah.
in college.
Yeah,
I was a catcher.
I know.
That was my sport. So I knew we'd been 70 minutes and yeah, I said I better just keep my mouth shut.
Well, that's fine. But I think it was good having him on and drumming up some stuff from my past and his past and talking about Coach Dusty Evie. That would be another show we could do, just talking about how that man coached a ball game, and he did basketball and baseball. I mean, yeah, he did both sports, and I never saw him have a losing season. And I followed him. I say followed him. I followed it. He retired probably about 5 years after I graduated high school, maybe even less than that. But they were always good, just always good. And he always didn't have the best talent either. So that's what.
Well, small ball is the way the game is meant to be played. I know it's not flashy, and in fact, that's why most people don't watch baseball anymore, is because of small ball. And I know they're trying to change it.
Yeah.
You know, they're juicing the ball and whatnot because it's not as exciting. But for a guy who played many, many years, small ball is very entertaining to me because I know all the thought processes behind, and
It's like
I
chess
understand
match.
why it's boring for somebody that doesn't necessarily play baseball or hasn't played.
Yep.
But anyway, it is what it is.
All right, so I think we'll just close with a devotion, which
Yeah.
I have ready. sorta.
Okay, good. I was going to say, I hope you got
Yeah,
one.
I got something. Well, I haven't read this one in a couple of weeks, but I'm going to go for it.
There you go
make
for
sure
it.
Works out. But anyway, thanks, Coach Rick, for coming on our show. And hopefully we'll have him back on again, maybe in August when we do our football preseason show.
If
High school.
he comes on in August, that is something special. I mean, he's going to be a busy man.
Yeah, I will.
It sounds like, I mean, he's game for it.
Yeah.
You know, which is just that says a lot.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. But anyway, if you want to catch this show again, you just caught the tail end of it, didn't catch all of it, then tune in to our YouTube page. I will try to have this episode loaded up in the next week or so. We are a little bit, or I am a little bit behind on some of our episodes. I think there's about 12 of them that I haven't posted yet. But there's 40-something others already on there. So there's plenty to listen to.
There is.
There's plenty.
There is.
All right, so devotion today, let me kind of get switched over here to it, is called Know Your Why. Knowing why you're doing everything is vitally important. Knowing why you live, where you live, why you work, where you work, and why you love what you love helps make sense of life. Knowing why you're working out, and we're talking about working out, training, whatever it is you do to stay in shape or to get competitive is equally important. What's your why? For me, one of the big answers, and of course I'm reading this is a devotion, so this also doesn't pertain to me, but some of you can relate to it. For me, one of the big answers is that question is that I want to continue to be healthy for the people around me, for my family, and being physically able to roll around on the ground and play with my dog or be physical at work or doing one of the things is important. And that's why I can honor God with my fitness each and every day to live out my primary calling to my family. Your why must be connected to something that's bigger and more internal than just how physically fit you are. This helps your motivation, but it also gives your physical fitness a higher value. Your fitness shouldn't simply be driven by desire to get stronger, faster, and more skilled. That's like looking at the diamond from 10 feet away and saying, what a pretty little rock. The more you know your why, and the more closely you examine it and refine it, the deeper and more beautiful your journey becomes. A diamond may look nice from 10 feet away, but you realize that it was even greater beauty the closer you look. Your why must be a person or a group of people. Listen to that. Your why must be a person or a group of people. It may be, and I kind of talked about that earlier, about, the person next to you, right? Man on your right, man on your left.
Yep.
Should be, is that your why? It may be a goal or a vision you're chasing after. It might be to honor God with all your body in all things. Do you pursue God with your physical fitness, and what is your why? So that's basically what it's asking you. And then there's a couple of scriptures that go along with that. 1 Corinthians 6:19, or know ye not that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit, which is in you, which ye have from God, and ye are not your own, for ye were bought with a price. Ye were bought with a price. Glorify God, therefore, in your body. That's one of the scriptures, and the second one is Jeremiah 10. Jeremiah 29:10. For thus saith Jehovah, for 70 years are accomplished. After 70 years have accomplished for Babylon, I will visit you and perform my good word toward you, in causing you to return to this place. For I know that thoughts that I think toward you, thoughts of peace, not of evil, to give you hope and your latter end. And ye shall call upon me, and ye shall go and pray with me, and will be brokenhearted. Ye shall seek me and find me, and ye shall search for me with all your heart. And I will be fond of you, saith Jehovah, and I will turn again your captivity, and I will gather you from all nations, from all other places, whither I've driven you, said Jehovah, and I will bring you and again unto the place whence I caused you to be carried away captive. And that's from Jeremiah 20:10 through 14. So anyway, basically know your why. And that comes from a devotion called Faith and Fitness, so appropriately.
All right.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Probably should have read that from a different version, but
there was a lot of ye's in there.
There were a lot of ye's and
lot
safe
of ye's.
and
yeah. But no, hey, good stuff. I've never thought about honoring God with my fitness. Now that's that's I mean, we're supposed to honor God with all we do.
Your body's temple. Temple of the Lord, right? So it kind of backs up towards that. So
hey, you know what I just bought? Speaking of fitness,
a treadmill?
No, no. I but similar.
Okay.
I bought
a bicycle.
I was gonna get a Peloton.
Okay.
But then I actually ended up going with a Bowflex bike, half the price.
Yeah.
Half the price, but still plenty spendy. But yeah. So I am. I'm on the train.
You're on the fitness highway.
Yeah. Well, as soon as it gets here. Right now, I'm just full celebration mode. Eat it all, eat everything. But yeah. So anyway, I'm joking about that now, but no, the perspective there in that devotion, that's unique, and I'd never thought about that. But it's so valid.
Yep.
So.
Okay, well, that's been our show today. We once I have this show loaded. I'll actually put it out there on our social media pages, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. And we certainly want to wish our compadre, our partner in crime, KC, who's feeling a little bit under the weather today, but hopefully he'll be back next week.
Get well.
Get well soon. And you have a good week, man.
You know what? You too.
Oh, thank you.
You
Appreciate
too.
That.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to the races tomorrow.
That's right. You are. You're gonna go see Street Outlaws or something.
Yeah, the World of Outlaws, and it might be in the rain, but hey.
Will they still run if it's raining?
I don't know, but we'll find out.
Huh?
Yeah. So I've got some cool stuff coming up. But yeah.
Earn free crypto just by learning about it.
How about that?
Yeah, that
okay. I'll earn free
plan
crypto.
on that coming out.
I love it. But yeah, have a good weekend as well. I'm guessing I'll probably see you on Sunday. So it tends to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since we go to the same church
Yeah.
and serve and all that good stuff, so
I'll be one of the guys on the camera on Sunday.
I'll be back in the online booth at some point. Okay, that's been our show tonight. Again, special thank you to Rick Luetjen, head football coach, Woodward High School here in Oklahoma, and just sharing some of the memories and his testimony and coaching philosophy and purpose that he has, and we certainly appreciate him. And happy birthday to him.
Absolutely.
Thanks for taking his birthday time out.
Yeah, I mean, he spent some good time with us. Thank you.
Thank
you, Coach.
Faithletic, the podcast. Appreciate everybody joining. We'll try to close this out. I'm Coach. I'm with
the Gunslinger tonight.
And we are
Faithletic,
the podcast. Have a good night.
See y'all.